there guys, gals, non-binary pals, GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I review books, bookish things, and all things writing. As you might have noticed, I am batch filming today. I am going through it with my current book. At this moment to be named Super. I'm still querying, so that may change, but I'm kind of married to Super being the title. So today, we are going over a book that I got quite some time ago as a present from my partner, and I tried to read it then. I wasn't in the headspace for it. I read it as just a going to the doctor book, and let's get into it. Today we are going over If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. So this book is special to me, and it survived many purges, in part because I have the promotional bookmark from when it was released still, and my wonderful partner, cover up my dead name, got it signed for me by the author, which I think is absolutely wonderful. I love signed books. I collect signed books. Well, I want to collect signed books, especially if the author was actually there in person to sign it. This is back when my partner worked for Barnes & Noble some time ago. Actually in 2017 is just when the book came out. She was doing her book tour, and yeah. The first time I tried to read this, I tried to read it a little bit at a time with breaks. And I just could not get into it. Like, I wanted to like the characters, I wanted to delve in, I wanted to just devour this one, because this was one that the topic was intriguing to me, and I just couldn't get into it. Maybe I wasn't in the right headspace, but what I think is this book is meant to be devoured all at once, because more recently when I read it, I was waiting in a doctor, and you know how that goes, especially when you're seeing a specialist, which I was seeing a cardiologist for some scary health things. I'm okay. But yeah, I was seeing a cardiologist for some scary health things. I was waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and waiting. So I had a lot of time, and I always bring a book with me. And this is the one that happened to grab off the shelf. And I read it all while waiting for the doctor, which, as you can see, it's kind of a thick book. So the fact that I read it in one sitting at the doctor's office is truly a testament to the American healthcare system, I think. So, if you read this all in one go, wow, amazing, fantastic, wonderful, immersive, great. You've got to surrender your brain to the book, which sounds a little cultish. Trust the process. If you're going to read this book, commit to reading this book. If you're not going to commit to reading this book, don't read the book. Yeah, and in my notes I have, this book is not meant for stop and go reading. Allow it to absorb you and consume you, and you will be rewarded, is what I have in my notes. So, also, you have to like Shakespeare. You have to love Shakespeare. You have to be in love with Shakespeare. Like, I don't know if you all have seen the movie 10 Things I Hate About You, but there's a character that has a poster of Shakespeare in her locker, and she's like, I'm more than a fan, we're involved. That's where you need to be to enjoy this book, to get this book, to understand this book. If you're not a Shakespeare fan, and I don't mean like highbrow English teacher, I mean Shakespeare wrote for the masses. There's a lot of dick jokes in Shakespeare. A lot of dick jokes. It's mostly dick jokes with some pirates thrown in. And convoluted stories. And this is a little bit of a convoluted story. And I feel that's why you have to read it all at once, or as close to all at once as possible, because if you stop, you lose the thread that you're on. And there's so many threads that you're picking up that it's easy to drop one, and if you drop one, you drop another one, and then you drop, and it's all on the floor in a puddle. So, that being said, let's get into what the book is about. This book is unraveling the tale of a murder. So it starts out with our main character, Oliver Marks, who is in prison and he's finally being released. And he's the officer who arrested him is like, I've got to know who really did it. And Oliver's like, yeah, I'll tell you everything. Once I get out and double jeopardy doesn't apply, off the record, I'll tell you everything. And so it's him recounting this to the officer and recounting the tale. And it's so good. Honestly, if I have a day where I'm not doing anything, which, fat chance, but if I have another day where I'm not doing anything, I will probably read this again after having read more Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. Much Ado About Nothing is one of my favorite plays, followed very closely by Taming of the Shrew. I grew up watching the Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton version. So, the story is written as a play. Sort of. It's a novelized play. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Instead of chapters, we have scenes. And instead of dialogue tags, it has James here, Alexander here. But at the same time, sometimes, no, Richard insisted. But more often than not, it goes back, it kind of weaves it in together. And where you have a lot of dialogue, because it's an ensemble cast of characters, where you have a lot of dialogue, it switches to theatrical dialogue tags instead of narrative dialogue tags. And it's done in such a way that if you suspend your disbelief and you just kind of let it happen, you're rewarded with an amazing story. If you don't give yourself over to the book, you're not going to like it. So, I'm not going to give anything away, because if I even mention which plays they're doing, I've given away the story, and I've given away the ending. I may have already given away too much. But this book plays with archetypes, and what happens when people are taken out of their archetypal role and put in a different role. So, like I said, we have Oliver Marks. He's our main character. He is used to playing the sidekick, the extra. We have Richard Sterling, who is the tyrant. We have James Farrow, the hero. Meredith, who is the femme fatale, who is dating the hero. We have Alexander Vass, who is the villain. And then we have Ren Sterling, who is the cousin of Richard Sterling, who is the ingenue. And then we have Philippa, who is the chameleon. And so the story takes place at a 4-year creative arts conservatory. They're in the theater department. That's what matters. They're in their 4th year. They've been established in these roles. They've been cast in these roles over and over and over again. And their friendship is based and dependent on them playing these roles. Well, partway into the new school year, their final year, the casting gets mixed around just to see what happens. And we see the tyrant, and we see the villain and the hero, and it's so interesting to see them become what they've been cast as and what they haven't been cast as. And it's very cerebral, it's very meta. If you like theater, if you're a little bit of a drama nerd, you're going to love this book. If you don't, you might not get into it. So, that being said, when I read this book, all at once, 5 stars. Easy. When I tried to read this Stop and Go, 3 stars. It was good writing, but I just couldn't get into it. So on average, I'd say this one is 4 stars. Give it a chance. Please, please, please give M.L. Rio's book a chance. It deserves more accolades. This is her debut novel. It's amazing. It's absolutely wonderful. It's amazing. She should be a household name after this as a debut novel. And it's awful that she isn't. So let's give her some love. Let's track down copies of this book. Let's read it all at once. And tell me what you think. I'm dying to know. I want someone else to read this book too, so I can talk about it in depth with spoilers. So, have you read this one? Have you read anything else by her? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!